Good afternoon to you. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack here. It's Monday now, the 26th of August, 2024. Hope your week is starting out on a positive note. Certainly is for me, so it's good to have you tuning in to today's video. A lot to discuss with you. I know, on the top of everybody's mind, where are all the hurricanes that we were told were coming? We will get to that, and we're going to also take a look at a little bit of a reminder of where we've already been this year. And then kind of examine this idea like they talk about in finance that, past performance does not guarantee future results, or whatever it is that the phrase might be when you are referring to stocks and things like that. Same kind of holds true in the weather. Just because something has been busy doesn't mean that it'll stay busy. And just because something is quiet doesn't mean that it'll stay quiet. We'll talk about all of that and more in today's update. All right. Like I said, good to have you join me. Appreciate your time and attention. Let's get started. First, nope, nothing over the next 7 days in the Atlantic Basin. However, I think this part right here might start to change soon. We're in a lull. It's not going to be busy all the time. Every hurricane season is different. We've had a busy time of it so far, and I'm going to revisit that in a minute and just remind you of how busy it's already been. But just because we don't have anything on the map here for the next 7 days doesn't mean that that won't change, because the weather is always changing, right? In the East Pac, we have Hector and Gilma. Gilma's a cat too, but notice, nothing over here and over here. This should be the end of it, and once we get over to the Central Pacific, I'll show you, how do you say that, Hone or something like that? Went just south of the big island of Hawaii with its center when it was a hurricane. Brought some heavy rain to the Hawaiian Islands, especially the big island. But once all of this activity clears the pattern, and it's getting there, we're almost out of the East Pac here entirely, then I do believe that it'll be the Atlantic's turn to take the stage. And I will discuss that as we move along, all right? Then we got to deal with this, and this is a big problem for our friends in Japan, a powerful typhoon out there. This is what it looks like here on the Joint Typhoon Warning Center. And I think you pronounce it Shan or something like that. I don't know for sure. But one thing I can tell you, that's going to be a nasty hit for some of these islands down here. The smaller islands, Japan itself made up of several islands, as you should know. But yeah, it looks like it's going to come in here from the southwest and then rake over a majority of the country. And that's going to be a big, big newsmaker, a big problem impacting travel and commerce and all kinds of stuff. A really big deal out there for our Japanese friends. Just, keeping you abreast of all that, right? So what about the Atlantic? I know most of you like, what's happening in the Atlantic Basin? Well, pretty much what we thought would happen, except there's a little bit of a speed bump, kind of slowing things down. Some more drier, stable air, maybe warmer air aloft. It's not a complete mystery. We're trying to figure things out. That, why don't we have a lot of named storms out there right now? But remember, there are years that have been very, very active where you do have these down periods where there's just nothing at all. And then all of a sudden, things start to perk up. So one of the things I want to make sure I address here today is that we look at this for the long term, the next 3 months. That's why I had that as my title card and thumbnail for today. The next 3 months. Hurricane season lasts from June through November. And even though those little guardrails that us as humans have put up that say it's June 1st to November 30th are there, those guardrails, doesn't mean that they will be adhered to. Nature can do whatever nature wants to do. And it is also mathematically possible, and we're starting to get absurd here that I even have to say this, that there will never be a hurricane in the Atlantic ever again. Just like, and I'll just use a quick sports analogy, Steph Curry mathematically might not ever make another basket in his entire life in a game. It is not a 100% certainty. That's how probabilities work. But we all know the likelihood of Steph Curry never making a basket, let alone a three-pointer, because that's what he's mainly known for, right? We know that's absurd. Of course the Atlantic will start producing hurricanes again, and it's my job, it's the government's job, it's people in your local TV market, other people that you follow on social media. It's our jobs collectively to keep you on top of things. It's not about scaring people. I don't come in here with scary masks and scary headlines, and at least I hope I don't. And it's not about likes and clicks. Who cares? It's about informing people about what we see. I've done this for 30 years, went to school for it. I kind of know what I'm talking about, and I want to translate that into something that is actionable for people while we go down this amazing adventure that we call the Hurricane Highway together. So that's what it's all about, unraveling these mysteries and whatnot. So right now it's quiet, but we do not expect that it'll stay that way. But the caveat is always there. Remember, I'll cite one more thing for you. The movie Oppenheimer. Now, whether or not J. Robert Oppenheimer actually said this to General Leslie Groves, I don't know. But Christopher Nolan and his writing staff put it in. And it's the scene where Groves says to Oppenheimer something about, when we push that button, we might destroy the world. And Oppenheimer says, well, there was a point in our research where we thought the atmospheric ignition wouldn't stop and, it could just continue. And he said, but our research indicated that the probability of that was near zero. And General Groves, you remember the movie, if you saw it, he said, near zero? Matt Damon did a great job emoting that. And he's like, yes, near zero. He goes, what do you want? And he goes, zero. He's like, what do you want from theory alone? We just don't know everything. So don't get focused on the numbers and the probabilities, and they said it was going to be an active season or whatever. Look at what's in front of us and look at what we've already gone through. It's been very busy. I'll show you that. And then I'll lay out what I think could happen over the next 90 days. But again, there's no guarantee that it'll happen. So just relax. Not anybody, nobody's wanting big hurricanes, right? I certainly don't. And if they do happen, we got to be ready for them. Us from a covering it standpoint, you from a preparing for it standpoint. All right? So there's my monologue or whatever. Let's get back on track. All right. So ace-wise, just reminding you, this is where we are. We are ahead of the curve, literally. Now, if we go too many more days, we're going to eventually catch up with climatology, and then we're going to start getting on this side. Absolutely. That could happen. But that doesn't mean that that's the way things will continue to happen. Right? Past performance does not guarantee future results. It applies. So here's what we've had so far, and I think this is pretty revealing. With the exception of very early season shenanigans right over here, limited only by land, everything else that we've had have been deep tropical development, long track, especially Beryl, and this is so important, everything has hit somebody. Whether it was Debbie or Beryl over here, Beryl was terrible, certainly. And then Ernesto down here, and then Bermuda. Yeah, Bermuda's back on its feet. They're good to go. We haven't had any major, widespread societal issue kind of causing catastrophes. But I think people in Houston would tell you it was not very pleasant going a week without power in July. Lest we forget, that happened this year. All of this has already happened. This seems to be our sort of highway this year, right here, our corridor. And anything could go in between here over the next several months, 3 months to go. So we can't just write this off that it's quiet now, so we all blew it. And I would be part of that crowd because I've been talking this up just as much as everybody else, looking at the available data. But history tells us, just like Steph Curry, of course he's going to make another basket in his career. He's going to hit some game winners, and he's going to be the MVP at some point again. You know what I mean? Like, come on. Seriously. The Atlantic is going to come to life, and we better be ready for it. And you know what? If it doesn't, great. That means we don't have to worry about power outages and all the misery that comes with hurricanes. Like that. Remember that? That was 4 years ago. A lot of short-lived junk storms in here, so to speak. But there were also some short-lived powerhouse storms. Laura is in there. We had Zeta, we had Eta, which was terrible down in Central America. We had Isaias, which was not a big deal, but big enough. And we had 30 named storms that year. And I think that's what has sort of tainted, sort of spoiled our memories. You think that's a busy season, where every few days there's a new named storm. But the ace generated by all of those storms was just nothing compared to one Beryl. You think about that. All of these in here. Laura, a powerhouse. That ace generated the intensity of Laura was only that last 2 days. Beryl was very strong for a long time. 2017, Irma was strong, a Category 5 for several days in a row. That's what really matters, is where does that intensity go and what are the impacts going to be? So that's a very busy season where just literally every few days there is a new development. And look at all this subtropical development up here. We haven't had any of that this year. It's been deep tropical, from Cape Verde type seedlings or the Central American gyre, solid background state kind of stuff. And my worry is, and all of us know this in the business, once that rubber band snaps, I said this last week, it's going to hit somebody in the eye and it's going to hurt. And we got to be ready for that. We do. We have to be realistic. We do. All right? So there you go. That's the ensemble for today. All right? This is the GFS, the ECMWF, the Ensemble Prediction System. I'm on a Twitter group. A bunch of us that are on there. It's sort of a secret little society we've got. Very smart people. We all go back and forth. It's like our own little think tank. And some of you watching this video are part of that group. And we're discussing it. We're bantering about all kinds of reasons and ideas why the quiet is here and why it doesn't look like this right now. But it doesn't matter because it could. This is our ensembles from the very reliable ensemble prediction system of the ECMWF. And that tells us a group of tropical waves will be coming off later down the road. This is not so later down the road. A lot of these are intense. And before you start saying, hey, they're all out to sea. Well, they're not all going to hit the U.S. or nobody or land in general, or nobody would live there at the coast. Of course, they're not all going to do that. But what we need to focus on, what if that one right there comes to pass, that ensemble member? Or that one right there? I don't think I'd like that very much. I live here. Or this one, our friends in Norfolk, the Navy base up here. Nope, they wouldn't like it. Caribbean. You got to look at the bigger picture. We really do. And this tells us, it's just a break. It's an intermission. And the second act has the potential to be nasty because this, ladies and gentlemen, has not changed. We're looking at, let me use black to highlight it better, that is roughly 1 degree Celsius above normal. That is 2 degrees Celsius above the long-term average. And any year, outside of what we're looking at these last few, because it's been crazy these last few years, something's definitely changed in the Atlantic. But you go back 7, 8 years ago, it was rare. 2010 was pretty warm. But this is ridiculously widespread. It's everywhere. All that energy is not going to just go away. Now, if we had no hurricanes, it would eventually bleed off, of course. But once the pattern changes, and that's usually what it takes, the atmosphere is starting to cool in the upper levels, we get closer to fall, there's something in the system that just sort of bumps things along, kind of like a pinball game, and your ball is stuck, and you kind of nudge it a little bit, oh, you're back in action. That's what's going to happen. More probable than not. You understand that? I don't know for sure. Nobody knows for sure. But it seems to make sense based on what we've seen already. All those paths and the ACE well ahead of where we should be. Yeah, you see? Now again, the caveat, past performance does not guarantee future results. Of course not. But you look at this and you go, I got a pretty good feeling that some of these forecasts for a hyperactive season, or all of the forecasts, could still happen. And by the way, one more reminder, because I do like to teach people. It's not, hype and clicks and I don't care. I really don't. I got a good career that's going to happen whether or not I get clicks and likes on my videos. And that comes from years of earning people's respect. Because I want to teach you something. It is about that ACE score. That is what is so important. And the ACE count for hyperactivity, you could still have a season. Think about 2004. That was a hyperactive year. We only had like 14, 15 named storms. It's not the quantity. It's the quality. All right? It is what the impacts are, not the stupid numbers. And I have fallen victim of, my own looking at all the data, whatever, have screwed things up by talking about the numbers too much, perhaps. Fallen into that own trap. Not a victim, you know what I mean? Trying to get this out. We can look at the numbers and we get too fixated on it. The number we need to really think about is the ACE and more so the impact, which, figures in later, the dollar amount, lives lost, whatever. And we don't know about that. So that's why we have to monitor this stuff. But yeah, you look at that and you say, geez, we have a long way to go. This is a day behind. That's August 25th's numbers, data, whatever. Whew. Yeah, you want to sleep on this? Do so at your peril. All right? I'm not. I live on the coast, North Carolina. Look, we got a little bit of blue, a little bit of below normal near me. Am I good? Nope. You get a massive hurricane running up the coast, and we could be without power for 2 weeks. My house could lose its roof, whatever. Yeah, it's not over, not even close. And then I want to show you this. This is very, very important. Great Hofmoeller diagram here from Dr. Michael Ventris. I like to cite where we get the data, and I blow it up, look at it in full frame. Yep, that's a problem. That is going to just absolutely hammer away at any remaining thought that the La Nina is not coming. And that's going to happen all through here. What I just showed you means very strong trades all through here. Just knocking these temperatures down, running across the equatorial Pacific. Stronger than normal trades, while the Atlantic stays abnormally warm. And then we're going to enter peak season, which is still a couple of weeks away. And, maybe it's delayed a little bit. But boy, oh boy, you look at this, and you look at this, and you look at where we've been. And I know I keep saying about the past performance doesn't guarantee future results, but I am not going to bet on at all, because I think it would be a disservice to you folks if I said, yeah, well, they screwed up. It's not going to happen. The 5 named storms we've gotten, that's it. Beryl's the worst we're going to have. That would be moronic, and it would be a true disservice, and I would ask you to unsubscribe from my channel because I would be lying to you, and I'm not going to do that. Just like I'm not going to tell you that I know there's going to be 5 category whatever heading our way, because I don't know. But what I do know is what I just showed you, that the background state is still there. We're headed towards peak season. The La Nina should be strengthening. We know what hyperactivity can look like regardless of the numbers, and that's what we need to be prepared for. All right? All right. I think we're all on the same page. As always, thank you for tuning in. I am Mark Sudduth from all of us at HurricaneTrack. I will be back with more for you tomorrow.